Good afternoon to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook for August 29th, Friday, 2025. And I want to start off this video by taking a trip down memory lane. 20 years ago to this day, August 29th, we had the infamous Hurricane Katrina make landfall, make its final landfall in Mississippi at I think the mouth of the Pearl River, and this is a image of Katrina as it was making landfall of in Mississippi and bringing a destructive, record-breaking 27.8 feet storm surge into the Mississippi coast. And I mentioned Mississippi because often the story of what happened in Mississippi because of Katrina is often overlooked. I mean, we all know what happened in New Orleans because of Katrina, mass casualty situation, rescue disaster that wasn't able to materialize for days, and we lost thousands of people in New Orleans, unfortunately. And because of that, Katrina will not be ever forgotten, and is certainly not forgotten 20 years later. And in fact, we are now at the 20th anniversary of Katrina, if you can believe. I certainly do not remember Katrina happening, but I know a lot of people do. And I'm pretty sure there might be even a few people who might be watching and were probably involved or felt impacts because of Katrina. And if you have any stories to tell about Katrina, please feel free to share them in the comment section of today's video below. And share any stories as we're now reflecting on the 20th anniversary of Katrina. Quite incredible that it's already been 20 years. But now we move into the present day. It is 2025. And what are we tracking on August 29th, 2025 right now in the Atlantic? And we do have an area of interest we are actually tracking today. It is in the Eastern Atlantic, a 30% chance of development in the next 7 days. And the models are somewhat, they show something happening. The GFS has some sort of signal for development here as we head into next week. Probably not going to be a particularly strong storm. Environmental conditions are still not there yet for the true awakening of the Atlantic. But believe me, it is coming. And I'll show you the model in a little bit. But there is an area of interest in the Atlantic. And of course, the majority of activity right now remains in the Pacific. We have two areas where there's development pretty likely right now. One of them being Invest 93E, that this has a high chance now, 70% of developing in the next 7 days and 50% chance in the next 48 hours. Although this is going to stay out to sea. Both of these areas are actually going to stay out to sea, so you won't have to really worry about any impacts to Mexico from either of these places. But both of them are probably going to develop, and probably throughout the next week we're going to get at least 2 or so named storms here in the Pacific. I would not be surprised. But we do have another area of interest here. This has a 60% chance of development over the next week. And as I've been saying, it looks like, at least in the shorter term future, it looks like a lot of the activity will be focused in the Pacific for now. And I do actually want to show you a satellite picture of a side-by-side of the Atlantic and the Pacific. Well, this only includes the western half of the Atlantic. The far eastern Atlantic is not included. But I just want to show you there is a little bit of a difference that you could see in favorable conditions, and this is kind of reflective of how things are right now and will be for at least the next week. Lots of convective activity here in the Pacific. We have lots of convection going on, lots of energy, although the energy mainly associated with 93E is further to the east here, and it is kind of struggling right now. There's a little bit of dry air probably inhibiting it from being able to fully blossom, but the National Hurricane Center obviously expects that it'll do so. And I'll actually zoom in on 93E for you in a little bit, but you can kind of see the contrast in favorability right now in each basin. The Atlantic right now, not seeing too much in the way of deep convection, especially in the tropics. We do have a lot of convection here associated with this piece of energy that is moving off the East Coast, but that is not deep tropical related, so you can't really lump it in with the tropics. Whereas the Pacific definitely a lot more in the way of convective activity. And again, this is all associated with the MJO moving in here, and it's going to set up shop for things to be favorable in the short term in the Pacific, but in the longer term, especially as we head into next month, eventually this will all begin to translate in the Atlantic, and you will definitely see a lot more of this active convective pattern here in the Pacific begin to show up in the Atlantic, and as a result of that, we will probably also begin to have development occur in the Atlantic as well. But for now, main focus on the Eastern Pacific, and of course, we do have an actual area of interest. Well, we have two areas of interest. One of them is an Invest right now, and this is Invest 93E. And then this is struggling a little bit. Looks like there's a little bit of dry air and maybe some shear from what I could tell by the satellite imagery. But this is probably going to develop, and it'll stay out to sea. So I'm not even going to bring up whatever track forecast might happen here, because this is pretty much confirmed going to be completely out to sea. So no concern to Mexico. But intensity-wise, this could actually become a pretty decent storm. Here are the model intensity guidance as of the 12Z run for 90E. And actually, quite a few of the models take this to hurricane intensity. So over the next week or so, this might actually be a decent storm, although kind of slow at first. So maybe might take a little bit longer time to develop, at least in the short term. But probably over the next few days, it will strengthen and maybe eventually become a hurricane. So there's that potential for activity in the Eastern Pacific. Here's the 850 millibar vorticity map, just so you could get an idea of all of the energy we have right now in the Pacific, and definitely quite a bit of it. And you can especially see where energy is consolidating for where 93 is, and that is roughly right here. Still a little bit messy, although you're starting to see a lot more of a round circular shape here take effect. So there probably is a low-level center of some sort with 93 E. But it's probably going to take a few more days, but eventually it'll develop, and then we obviously have all of this energy back here to the east, and this is also associated with other potential development area that we are watching closer to Mexico, which will probably develop in the coming days. And then meanwhile in the Atlantic, not too much going on right now. Quite a bit of vorticity here in the eastern Atlantic, and that's probably associated with tropical wave activity, but you don't have anything that's consolidating right now. Obviously, you have a lot of vorticity and energy here off the East Coast. And I did mention a few days ago that there is some potential that the models were showing some time ago for potentially something to happen off the East Coast, although I don't think really anything much has happened in recent days with that. So looking like we just have a bunch of slob of energy off the East Coast right now. And one thing that it is helping is that it is bringing very, very nice and cool temperatures to the eastern half of the United States, especially relative to August. I mean, we've pretty much been only in the 70s and 60s for the last week or so here in New York City, where I live in. Yes, I'm a New Yorker. And it's only been 60s and 70s, and it's because of this trough of energy here that has been very persistent off the East Coast. And we're seeing lots of very cool temperatures here. But in terms of any actual development, we're not getting that right now. And I'll show you here over the next week to see what does happen. Looks like this piece of energy in general remains here off the East Coast. We have a trough here. And general frontal energy that remains here off the East Coast. And you do see that there is some sort of low that tries to get going. And I did mention a few days ago that the models did actually have something trying to consolidate into like this weird hybrid thing. But obviously you could see does not really fully consolidate, kind of just remains a broad area of lower pressure and vorticity. And then that moves on northward into Atlantic Canada. And then as we head into next week, obviously you could see what the energy and the tropical wave associated with the hatched area that we have here in the eastern Atlantic. That emerges off the coast of Africa. When does it emerge off the coast of Africa? It actually emerges this Sunday. And the GFS does try to show some development. You do see that there is some sort of closed low here that develops on the vorticity. And it actually does strengthen a little bit. So that probably is a weak tropical storm that the GFS does show. But Eventually, as we head into time, this kind of fades out here. Probably still, once again, drier air and stuff like that still prevalent, especially just north of the MDR. In fact, let me actually show you what the relative humidity values look like. And we do see something that tries to consolidate, but yeah, you can see some dry air gets wrapped into it. And so that probably tells me that there's still a little bit of time that is needed before things will truly begin to ramp up here in the Atlantic. But this is a start. And usually, it really just takes one storm that the Atlantic produces that ends up taking off the lid, if you will, or flipping a switch. And then the entire Atlantic really begins to light up, and this is now early September when this happens. As we get into next week, we are starting to get into early September. So, and again, as I said before, things really change very quickly as we head into the month of September, especially in the Atlantic. It really only takes sometimes a matter of just 1 week where things go from dead to hyperactive, and we've certainly seen that a lot in recent years. So I will say that it is a start, that we are starting to see a signal of something develop here in the Eastern Atlantic, and whether or not it'll actually, develop and actually become a persistent storm that we're going to have to track really doesn't matter. I think it's just more of a sign that things are slowly becoming more favorable. And again, it's only going to be a matter of time before things become really active here in the Atlantic. But just to close out, as I've been saying, most of the activity for now is going to be in the Pacific. As you can see, over the next week, we have one and then another one here in the Pacific. And this one actually looks like it becomes a pretty decent storm. And I think this is the moderate chance that's closer to the coast of Mexico, or further east in the Pacific here. And it looks like the GFS makes that a pretty decent storm, but it does develop the other area here that's further to the west. So at least over the next week, as I've said, probably going to get another named storm or two in the Pacific. Although I will say, looking at the GFS, nothing threatens any coastline or any sort of population area. So in terms of any direct impacts from anything that develops in the Pacific, no need to worry for now. Obviously, though, we will be keeping a close eye on things to see if they do change. But with that being said, I'm going to end it off for today's tropical weather video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe. I'm posting these videos every single day, especially now that we're heading into the peak. And this is going to last pretty much from now all the way till the end of hurricane season. So if you are looking forward to that, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on notification bells as well. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Stay safe. And as always, I'll be back with more tomorrow.